Welcome to Sew and Tell, where sewists from fashion, theater, and indie sewing bring their different perspectives to the hottest topics in the sewing community. I'm Meg Healy.
And I'm Kate Zaynard. Today on the podcast, we're doing a host question and answer. We'll be answering all the burning questions you've sent us in the past few weeks, or at least some of them. We'll be sharing a lot, including what's giving us our SewJo this week, and then we'll ask you to share something too. Before we jump into the questions, though, I'm sure you've all noticed that Amanda's not here. She had something come up, and so she's not able to be with us today, which is a big disappointment because she was really excited about this episode, but we're going to power through without her.
Yeah, and we are, the next time she records with us, we're definitely going to, she's not off the hook for some of these questions.
Oh no, we're saving some questions for her.
Yeah, we'll ask her some of the burning questions that come up. So, well, I'm excited to ask her those. But yeah, how are you doing? How was your weekend, Kate?
It was pretty amazing because I made shoes.
Oh, yes. I know. I got this message. You sent it to Amanda and I. You're like, next time you're in town, we have to do this.
I know. Oh my gosh, you'd love doing it so much. It's just such a fun time. It was really mellow, really cool. It was surprisingly not that hard. And I just
really
came out of it feeling so happy and excited and pleased with myself, and it was a great day, and I would love to share that with you and Amanda at some point.
Oh, totally. Well, I think my year ahead, my 2020, it includes a lot of travel, a lot more than 2019 trips to film and in Colorado. So we definitely need to schedule
that. We'll figure it out for sure. And how are you doing?
I'm doing good. My weekend was just nice and relaxing. Julian and I went couch shopping, married life couch shopping. It was really, just the bunnies have just destroyed our couch. It's just something about that. Yeah. So we have a cover on it. And so we just thought we need to get a new couch because we never were, that stage in your life where you can't, this is like our second couch that's just been a hand-me-down, when you get your first place. And so we've never bought a couch before. And so we just thought we'd bite the bullet. But
it's so funny what suddenly gets you about being an adult.
I know.
Couple of weeks just before Christmas, we got a new toilet, and I was so shocked at how excited I was to have this new toilet that flushed less water and better. And I was like, I am such an adult now. How did this happen?
I know. I never thought that when my younger self just would think that spending money on a couch would just be, there's so many other things I'd rather spend my money on. But, as an adult, you're excited too, and you just look for the things. A lot of sitting up and down. I wore nice comfy pants, and you got to test the couches as if you were sitting. You can't just perch on them. I was laying down. I had Julian sit on it because I usually lay down, spread over him, and I just we had to, you got to get in my hand sewing position. I need to be able to hand sew on my couch. If I'm going to hand sew, I need to be comfortable. So it's my weekend.
Yeah, well, it's important to try out all the couches because you really don't want to make a mistake.
Yes. So that was couch talk this week.
So maybe we should move on to some sewing
I think we
talk.
should move on to some sewing questions. So this is a question we got in from actually our survey that we did, and I thought that we should ask it for sure. So it's been asked. There have been some changes with Interweave Press, and I'm confused how these three gals seem to still work together because they seem to work for different companies now.
That is a great question.
Yes.
It was a little confusing for us too.
I know.
For a while
I would like to know as well. No.
So about this time last year, we were all three employees of F&W Media, of which Interweave is a part. And unfortunately, F&W went into bankruptcy, and that's public knowledge. Mm-hmm. And there was an auction for different parts of the business because it was a pretty big business. And the craft group, which includes sewing, was picked up by a company that was established called Golden Peak Media, which is where we work now. And all three of us had our employment brought over. And Meg, do you want to address the Burda situation?
Yeah, so through that process, before F&W Media had a joint venture with Berta, and Berta has now taken back all operations of the site, so I'm not very involved. I still do some contract work for them, but now I'm employed with you girls at Golden Peak Media, and so now I'm just doing a lot more work with the magazines and stuff. So basically, I still kind of work for both, but I'm not doing nearly as I'm not nearly as involved. But there's still some work. That's why we can still host Berta Style Academy. That's still a part of Golden Peak Media. So there's some licensing for the Berta patterns and on that. So, and then I'm involved in that with Golden Peak. So that hopefully that explains some confusion to that.
Yeah.
So we're all employed by the same company. Yep.
Yeah, and it's actually really cool to have Meg working a little bit more on the magazines.
Yeah.
She did a little bit for us before, but now she's more involved, and it's really cool having her more involved.
Yeah, it's been really awesome learning about kind of a new brand and print processes, because I was so on the digital side when I was involved with bertastyle.com, and I was my day was just made up purely of working on that site, and now it's kind of switched to just doing a little bit on the side and then really working magazine and all that stuff. So I really love it. It's really, really awesome. So yeah.
Okay, next question. Is there a particular part of the sewing process that bores you, and how do you make it fun or get through it?
Well, I've been vocal in the past that hand stitching is very boring, and hopefully on my new comfy couch, that will get me through it. And also changing the threads of sergers and machines. That is probably, I do hate that, because it's just, I hate it. But what I do to get through it is I just do it I don't know. I do it before. If I know that I'm going to be sewing the next day, I try and do it the night before, and then it just motivates me to sew. I'm like, oh, it's already done. I can just jump into it. So I just try and do it, the night before or at a, different time.
Yeah,
but,
sometimes it stops me from starting a new project when I know I have to change my thread first. I'm like, So I can totally see that. For me, we all know I hate gathering, and I don't know why. I just find it super tedious just sitting there pulling and trying to get everything evenly spaced, and I don't know, it's just blah. I'm trying to get better at it, but I'm just not a big fan of taping together digital patterns. I'm always kind of stressed about matching up the lines, and usually I'm bending over a table that's too short, so my back hurts. But of course, you can't do the project until you get that done. So, you just got to power through it. And of course, the worst, I have to say, sorry, Meg, it's when you're working with a Berta pattern and you have to add the seam allowance.
See, I love doing that. I love getting out my rulers and drawing. I don't know.
Yeah, you're weird.
I enjoy that a lot.
I hate it, especially because the pattern pieces are always slightly too close together. So you always have to tape in some extra paper behind, because the seam allowances will cross over. And I just if it was just adding the seam allowance, I think it would be less annoying than having to do all the rest of that. So
there we go. So another question that we got is there anything you won't sew?
Oh, is there anything I won't sew? I mean, I'm willing to give most things a try. I am not a fan of sewing. I have in the past sewn sequin fabrics and lamés, lots of shiny, fancy fabrics. And I would avoid doing that again as much as humanly possible. And there are many things that I don't sew. I think, actually, you know what? I think I won't sew a wedding dress, because that's too much stress on me.
It's too much.
It's too much. So there we go. If any of you were going to ask me to sew your wedding dress, I'm not going to do it. Sorry.
Yeah. I thought you were talking. I was like, hopefully you won't have to be in the position where you might need to sew your own again.
No, I'm going to buy my own again if I have to.
Oh, gee.
If I get married again, which I'm not going to, Mark, don't worry.
I know, that's what I was thinking. Oh, geez, eh? For me, I first initially thought, oh, no, there's nothing I won't sew. And then I thought about it, and I don't think I'll ever sew socks. I know there's some sock patterns out there. It just doesn't seem very, I don't know.
Exciting.
I just wrote that down. It doesn't seem very exciting. And I would never sew with a fabric that I would be like, you know what? These would make great socks. So I just wrote down socks.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. I have knit socks before, and that was fine. But yeah, I feel like, where does the seam go?
Or
Wouldn't it
like
hurt your
gloves
feet?
too, as well. I would never sew gloves with the face. Maybe a mitten, but a glove, like that just seems like a lot of like pivoting that I just don't want to do.
You know, I'm interested enough in cosplay that I probably would sew gloves, but not like gloves for warmth. More like gloves for style.
Right.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to pull something off the list now. How old were you when you had your first machine?
I was 13 when I got my first machine. That was one of the best Christmases ever. Thanks, Santa.
I think you've talked about that machine before.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I think I was in college at some point. Probably I was around 20 or 21. I didn't get my own, my machine, which is still my primary machine, is a hand-me-down. It was my mom's before it was mine. She got it about the same time she got me, so it's about the same age as I am. And she started quilting when I was in my freshman year of college. Once I was out of the house, she picked up her new hobby, and eventually she ended up getting a new machine for that.
Oh.
And so then she didn't need her old Singer anymore, and so she offered it to me. And I'm not sure I actually took it until I started doing my costume construction classes, which was a little bit later, but just by a year or two. So I don't know the exact age, but it was somewhere around there.
Nice. That's a good age to getting into it, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. I like this question. When you are gifted old fabric, how can you tell what it's made of or the type of fabric?
So I'm not sure I've ever actually been gifted old fabric, but I still have an answer to this because I did a class on this
nice.
A couple years ago. There are several tests that you can do to figure out what fabric is. I'm sure you know all this, Meg, but this is all for the listeners.
I know. I'm nodding like, oh yeah.
So there's the burn test is kind of the first place to go. You take a scrap of the fabric and you burn it. Obviously use some tweezers or tongs or something, and have something inflammable underneath the thing that you're burning, but depending on how it burns, what the colors are, what it smells like when it burns, how fast it burns, you can usually tell the general gist of what the fiber is. Like if it's a natural fiber, like if it's a cotton or linen, if it's a plant fiber, it'll go up pretty fast and orange, and it'll smell like burnt plants. If it's a wool or silk, it tends to burn a little bit slower, and it smells like burnt hair. If you have a polyester, it will melt, not burn. So it's actually really interesting looking at the burn test. You can also try out a couple other things like acetone. Acetate will dissolve in acetone. So if you think you have a piece of acetate, you can put it in a little bit of acetone nail polish remover, and if it melts over about 24 hours, you've got acetate. So for more information on that, there are plenty of places on the internet that tell you these kind of details, but it's really fascinating actually trying to do fabric identification. Yeah,
there's a really good article on the Seamwork website that I'll link to that it's really good. I think there is even a video too, but yeah, definitely a burn test is the way to go. But what I usually do is the sniff test. I just sniff it. No, no, because I'm just saying, because I love the smell of old fabric. I think I've said this before, but I love it. It's just, you can just, I don't know what it is, but.
Well, and I think too, if you have enough experience, that actually works.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You start to learn, like, especially, I always notice a few years ago, actually, I remember pressing some Dupioni silk, and it had a really distinct smell when I pressed it. And I remember thinking, okay, this is what Dupioni smells like when it's being pressed. And I think you get to say it, like linen, I think, has a kind of distinct smell when it's being pressed. And so, there's some smell elements too that you can pull out there.
Great question.
That was a great question. That was fun to talk about. Next question. How do you keep sewing fun since it's also your career? Or does sewing feel more like work than play?
Well, it depends on the type of sewing. I know right now what I'm going through, since I'm prepping for a film trip, sewing mini step outs and samples, that definitely feels like work sewing. But I'll be honest. Yeah.
Samples always feel like work.
Samples always feel like work sewing, but sometimes they are still like it depends. It honestly just depends on my mood that day. If I'm in a sewy mood, then everything is fun. Like I could just be sewing stitch samples or something, and that would be fun. But yeah, it is kind of interesting. Yeah, because it's hard to even for me justify sewing something that I don't just make into work because I don't know. So yeah, but it's all fun because I just love sewing, and that's what made me have this career. So I guess that's always good. But definitely there are those days where I force myself to sew, and it isn't fun, but you have to.
Yeah, and definitely, like I said, the samples can be a real pain, especially if you have to make the same thing to different steps just over and over. It can get really tedious. Every once in a while, I get something that feels like work. Most often, we're able to take the sewing that we're doing for work and somehow make it into something that we're excited about doing. We either get to try out a new technique or we get to keep it after we're done so we can pick our favorite fabric and patterns we like. So, like when we do our pattern reviews, that's always a benefit to doing that. Every once in a while, it's like, okay, I have been assigned to make this skirt out of this fabric, which I do not like, in this size, which I cannot wear, which will go on a model. And that's when it's work, when it's just like, okay, I've just got to make this and that's what I've got to do. But I think that's pretty rare. I think we're lucky in that way. And so I think we get through it by just remembering that the next thing we get to sew is going to be something for ourselves, either whether it's for work or just for fun. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. Next question. How often do you three meet up for either podcast planning or either social? So how often do we meet up?
Not often enough.
Not often enough, exactly.
So as we've mentioned plenty of times, Meg lives in Toronto and Amanda and I live in Colorado. Meg travels out here to our studios to film maybe a few times a year. I think is kind of how we, maybe 2 or 3. So we always try to make a point of taking an evening to go and have some drinks and hang out and just enjoy each other's company when she's here. And of course, we're going to take that shoemaking class as soon as we can.
Totally. Yeah.
As soon as we could get the opportunity. But of course, we're constantly in contact outside of, not really face-to-face contact, but we're constantly in contact. We have messenger apps on our computers, and we're basically constantly just messaging back and forth. Amanda's in her office, and I'm in my cube, and Meg is in Toronto, and we're all just having conversations all the time. So you can
feel like you're really just in the same space. That's the great thing about technology, too.
Yeah, we're kind of in the same virtual space pretty much constantly. So not often enough, and also all the time is kind of how the answer goes there.
Totally, yeah.
So, the podcast, we have actual meetings about the podcast occasionally, but most of the time we're just messaging back and forth saying, hey, who wants to be the lead on this section and who wants to do this part and how do you feel about doing this part, and that's
Yeah. There was another, it wasn't it wasn't as much as a question as it was a statement, and maybe we'll have to plan for this when I am down in Colorado, maybe in Denver. If we have a lot of Denver listeners, they said, I'd love a Sew and Tell meetup. So that would be kind of fun.
That would be fun.
Wouldn't that be fun? We could connect with any listeners that are around there. Maybe I could even host one in Toronto too, because I think there's a bunch of Toronto listeners as well. So maybe 2020.
I got a recommendation from a Toronto listener the other day when I was talking about my shoes, about a shoe workshop in Toronto. So she's like, if you're ever visiting Meg, you should go to this. And I'm like, that awesome. Sounds like it's right up my alley. So maybe we'll all come to you and do shoes.
Yes, Toronto Canadian made shoes.
Canadian shoes. All right. Let's see. One thing you wish you knew when you first started sewing.
Ooh. You know what? I don't really, because kind of the fun of it was just figuring it out as I went. I think I didn't, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question, actually.
Oh, that's okay. Actually, I know. So I know how to answer it for me. So I'll answer for me. And then if you have any thoughts. I wish I knew when I first started sewing was that it's okay if it's not perfect. Because the person who really taught me how to sew did not have that opinion. And he was very, very adamant that things needed to be really perfect. And it was really freeing when I discovered that most people don't think that. Most people aren't going to judge you if something's slightly off. So that is what I wish I had known from the beginning.
Nice.
Did you have any ideas, or is it just...
I think I wish I just knew how much space it would take, I guess. When I started, I would literally sew on my bedroom floor. I don't know how I managed to pretzel myself into that position, but just always knowing that I would, living in big cities too, that you just always need space, and you need space to cut out fabric. You need to lay fabric on a flat surface, not covered with stuff. And
as much as you can do it on carpet, it's not fun.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me, though, just yesterday, I had to rethread a machine while it was on the floor because we were filming and we had the other machine on the table. And I was like, oh, I can do this. This is easy, until I got to the part where I actually had to thread the needle. And I'm like, darn, this isn't working. So there's a little tidbit for everybody about the glamours of filming. You end up sitting on the floor threading a sewing machine. I know. Okay, so what do you do with muslins that don't turn out wearable? What do you do with me-mades that you no longer want to keep? And do you have any other major hobbies other than sewing, and how do you balance them? Ooh, that's a lot of questions.
I know.
All right. 1, what do I do with muslins that don't turn out wearable? I have never made a muslin with the intent that it would be wearable. I don't make a lot of muslins anyway. When I do, it's usually out of old bed sheets, and it's only the part that I'm worried about. So I think the most recent muslin I made was was just the bodice of a Empire waisted dress that I wanted to make sure fit right before I put on the skirt. So it wasn't really wearable in any form, and it was never meant to be. So I either reuse the fabric if it's a big enough piece, or I throw it away. All right, what do I do with me-mades that I no longer want to keep? I guiltily stuff them in my closet and try to forget about them. I probably should be brave enough to donate them or something, but I'm always like, but I handmade this, I need to keep it, or I need to fix it, or I have a lot of other major hobbies. I think sewing is my primary one right now. But as I mentioned, I knit, I crochet, I have been known to cross stitch, though I can't do that right now because my cat will not let me. She keeps trying to eat my thread. Let's see. I have several other crafts those were the three that really jumped to my mind. Most of the crafts that I do that aren't sewing are things that I can do from a stationary place in a way that sewing isn't.
Right.
So when I want to be up and moving, then I sew. And if I don't want to be up and moving, if I just want to sit on the sofa and watch TV or something, that's when I do one of my other hobbies. And that's kind of how I keep them balanced. I also, because I'm lucky enough to work in a craft-based business, I can take my knitting into meetings at work here and work on that. And nobody looks at me funny because there are people high up in the company who do it too.
That's so cool. I love that.
I know. I feel really lucky.
Oh,
because I can pay attention
nice.
while my hands are moving, and it actually helps me focus better because...
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I would just be like twirling. I'm usually sitting here when I'm on calls and just twirling my pen up and down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a fiddler too.
Yeah. If I can be doodling or knitting, then the knitting is better. How about you, Meg?
What do I do with muslins that don't turn out wearable? Yeah, I don't really make muslins. But sometimes when a project, this literally happened yesterday, working on a special project for So News, and I had, I'm bringing one of the samples, and I re-sewed it twice, reworked the pattern, and it was not even supposed to be a muslin, and it turned out very not wearable. At what point I just had to scrap it, and I'm just going to cut it up and use it for scraps, and I just have to start again. And now I like it even better than the first one. So, yeah, that was fun. And what do you do with me-mades that you no longer want to keep? I put them in a big, like plastic bag, and when I have friends over, and I think the last time that we did this, Julian works with a lot of girls that are around my size, and we just say, have at it. And so they go through the bag, they're trying on, and then they get to go home with something. So I always let my friends rummage through, and then I just donate what's left over. But it's always fun just to see other people just enjoy, what I've made. And I maybe have worn it a couple times, and it's a style that I don't want to wear anymore. And they're just so grateful. And it's just, I have something handmade and original. And it's just, it's really awesome. So I love doing that.
Nice.
Yeah. And then major hobbies. I guess I really don't have many. If you count watching reality TV as a hobby, I do that very well and very often. I love all my Bravo shows. And when it's warm out, biking would be, I guess, a hobby. I love to go biking.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then I guess one of the great things about my watching reality TV, it kind of does balance with sewing, because I can then do the boring sewing stuff and have that on in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice when you can have something interesting like a podcast or a audiobook or TV in the background that you can kind of, especially if you're doing something that doesn't require a lot of concentration.
Yeah.
All right, Meg, this one is for you specifically. What got you into bunnies?
Bunnies! Oh, well, my brother did have a bunny when we were young, but it was always his bunny, and I never really, I always knew I wanted pugs. I had pugs growing up. My parents have a pug right now, and I always wanted one when I was younger and growing up. But when we moved to Toronto, and I worked from home, and I wanted a pet, but we weren't ready to commit to a dog yet. So we actually thought we were going to get a cat. We thought maybe a cat would be nice, and so we went to the Humane Society. And we just popped in the special species room, and we saw bunny. It was just like love at first sight. They're just like, we got in this litter of giant bunnies, and they actually told us that people are scared of them. And Julian and I just looked at each other, and we need a big bunny. And it really is just bunny got us into bunnies, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And now we have two, and they're just, I love them so much.
Oh, they're so sweet.
Oh, yeah. And then, now I have a question. As I was mumbling, I'm just shuffling my papers. All right. So here's a question for you, Kate. I was going to ask you. I'm like, what got you into bunnies, Kate?
Bunny got me into bunnies.
Bunny. He is like a bunny mascot. Anyone that meets him is like, I want one.
Actually, that's not even true. I just lived in a lot of places where there are wild bunnies around. And so I like to do, I like to look at bunnies. I don't have any bunnies, but I like them. I like to look at them. I like to bunny spot. I think my record was like 11 bunnies in one day. It was a pretty good day.
There's this place. My dream vacation is I think it's in Japan. It's called Bunny Island. And it's overpopulated with, that's like a dream vacation for Julian and I. I mean, you see the videos and you have to Google it if you want.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. So next
All right,
question
but back
for
to
you,
me.
Kate. Back to Kate. What tips from sewing stage wear do you bring to personal sewing, Kate?
In a lot of ways, sewing costumes is not that different from sewing not costumes. In a lot of ways, it is different. And a lot of them, a lot of the really unique techniques don't really translate over, like quick rigging, which is, preparing a costume for a quick change. You don't really want something that's held closed with, like a shirt that's held closed with Velcro in real life, because then it's more likely to just come apart. Mm-hmm. You want the actual buttons. But one thing I still do that I learned in the theater, we always, the second step after cutting something out was to serge the edge of every piece, every piece. And that was just because theater costumes get a lot of heavy wear.
Yeah.
And depending on what the costumes are, they also get a lot of washing. Some of the more fancy ones just get dry cleaned a lot. But in any case, they have to be able to stand up, and you really want to make sure that you don't have raveling going on. And so it was always just serge everything. And I still do that with everything that's not, I usually won't do it with knits anymore, but anything that's woven, I will serge every edge, though I have taken to, if I know an edge is going to be completely enclosed, like if it's a neck edge that's going to have a collar on it, I won't serge that edge because the bulk is just a pain from the serging stitching. Mm-hmm. But other than that, everything I do is pre-serged and then sewn together normally and pressed as if it wasn't. And I always think it's weird when someone says sew a seam and then finish the edge. I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah, no, I can't do that because I like to work with smaller allowances, and then I might risk cutting right into the seam.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so everything I do is pre-done. So cool. That's the main thing that I bring over from that. But yeah, other than that, most of the things that translate are the same.
Yeah. So. Cool. Should we take a quick break and then come back with a few more?
Yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
Okay, and we're back. And I think it's my turn to ask a question. This one's a little freaky, actually. What would you do if you couldn't ever sew again?
Oh, my gosh. That would be horrible.
I know.
Oh, what would I do?
It would make your job pretty hard. Mine too.
Yeah, I would be broke. So I'd have to. No, I would maybe. I know it's if I was younger, then I would go more into like professional dance. Like I always was. I would have always loved to be in like Cirque du Soleil because I am naturally like a. Flexible and I would take gym, and I've danced for like 19 years of my life. So if I couldn't sew and I was younger, I would be in Cirque du Soleil.
All right, that
or I would be as
sense.
if I couldn't sew right now, I would become a Zumba instructor. I've also even thought about doing that just on the side as well because I love dancing.
Nice. I like dancing too. It's fun. See, what would I do? See, I asked you that and I didn't have an answer for myself. I think, I would just spend my free time knitting and crocheting.
Oh, right.
I mean, the same things I I did, like, when I had a big sewing dearth in my life, I still had plenty of things that I did. And I mean, technically I'm an editor, so I'm sure I could find something to edit that wasn't sewing. Or I could keep editing about sewing even if I couldn't do the actual sewing. So
yeah,
I would keep crafting in some form.
just keep crafting.
Just keep crafting.
Okay, I'm dying to know this, Kate. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, mint chocolate chip.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say that.
Were you really?
Yes.
Oh, we're ice cream buddies.
We are ice cream buddies. Close second for me is I don't know if you have it in America, but it's Moose Tracks in Canada.
Yep.
Oh, you have that? Okay, love that.
Yep.
It's peanut. I love a peanut butter moment for my ice cream, but mint, chocolate chip is. And obviously because it's green too. I mean, I always gravitate towards green things.
Towards green things.
Oh my gosh.
And the ones with like the big chunks of chocolate where there's not even like chips, where it's like chunks.
Oh,
yeah.
And sometimes I even like a little bit of just my favorite ones are if they have a little bit of even chocolate ice cream swirl within the mint. Yeah. Though that's really good. Oh my gosh. Ice cream twins.
Ice cream twins. I think my second, just because, you did yours.
What's your second?
It's funny. I have like 4 things in my head, but I think in the end I'm going to go with a good traditional vanilla. Because then I will put it over bananas and put chocolate chips in it, and then I am very happy.
Oh, like a little banana split.
Yeah, it's like a little, but it's just, it's not quite as many flavors mixing together. It's really just the chocolate and the banana and the vanilla, and I just really love it. We have, when I was living in Oregon, they have the Tillamook companies from Oregon, and they had this wonderful ice cream, which I could only get there. And now they've started selling it. A few years ago, they started selling it in my local store, and so I can get the Tillamook vanilla bean, and it's so good.
Yum.
It's very problematic.
Oh, now I just feel like ice cream.
I know. Luckily, it's not too cold in here.
Nice.
If you could only wear one outfit silhouette, what would it be?
Oh, it would probably be, it was kind of my uniform of summer. I'm loving a high waist, kind of wider leg cropped pant, and then like a cropped sweater top. I think that's comfortable for me. I love a high waist, but I like a cropped top. And then I like a wider leg. So I would definitely go with that silhouette.
Yeah. I would probably go with a wide leg pant as well. They're not necessarily high-waisted and not like really super flared. Basically, I'm picturing the Pagosa pants because I love them.
Oh, I love those.
And then sort of probably a kind of tunic length, hip length top of some sort. It's kind of my preferred look at the moment.
And sometimes it's kind of nice just to have a silhouette and then your patterns just kind of fall into it, and you kind of more mix and match, like it'll work, and you can mix match colors, and you always have this set of tops that will always fit this set of pants and always look good proportion wise on you. So yeah, you know what? I'm only making that silhouette from now on. No, I'm just joking.
No, you're not.
I'm not.
Don't be silly.
I know. I just do love it.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could only sew or wear 3 colors, what would they be?
Oh my. Oh, that's hard. So I think I would have to pick some sort of neutral, of course, because you've got to have a neutral. And I think it would probably be black for me. Because, I mean, you can do so much with black, and I don't like wearing white, and navy is just hard to find shoes that go with it. So, yes. And then I think I'd have to go with pink because I really wear a lot of pink, and I just don't think I could survive if I couldn't wear pink or make anything with pink. And then I think, let's see, something that would look good with pink and black. Maybe blues.
Yeah?
Yeah, blues are pretty versatile. I think it's hard to find anything that won't go with some shade of blue.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I picked black, white, and lime green. That's what I picked. Yeah.
Of course you did.
Because I just love those three together. And I was going to just say lime green 3 times, but then you need some neutrals. I don't want to dress
lime
like
green, pistachio green.
Yes.
And
but if they had to be colors, if we're not... I remember in school, sometimes when you were younger, people would be like, what's your favorite color? And then you'd be like, oh, white. And then they would be, that's a shade, not a color. That was something always that would, I don't know, just a little color.
That's white's a color.
I know. That's what I'm thinking. But I would pick yellow. I love citrus colors too, like lime green, yellow, and orange. I think those are so pretty all together.
I would have trouble giving up yellow. I'm a big fan of yellow. Mm-hmm. I really like most colors in some form. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to pop back a little bit on our list here and ask you, what's your favorite fabric to sew with?
I think just any type of knit. I was working with knits a lot yesterday, and it just reminded me how much I love working with them. And they're just so soft. And I was working with this beautiful jersey, and even though it didn't work out, I had to remake it a couple times when it was just nice and pleasant to work with. And I just fell back in love with my cover stitch machine yesterday, and I just love working with knits. So that's my answer.
I have to say, I'm beginning to pick up Amanda's love of linen.
Oh, yeah.
I've been sewing a little bit with linens lately for various reasons, and man, that stuff presses so nicely. And of course, it wrinkles so much, but it's so soft once you wash it a couple times, and it presses beautifully. Mm-hmm. It's easy to sew. I'm liking linen a lot right now.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll just do like 1 or 2 more. I don't want this to run too long for you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll each just ask 1 more. So last
sounds
round.
Good.
Okay. Favorite musical artist or band? That was one. It's kind of fun.
Oh, hi, I'm a nerd. I like the Beatles.
Oh, that's a great answer. That is a great answer.
I feel like I should be talking about somebody who didn't break up like 10 years before I was born. But I really love the Beatles. I love their early stuff. I love their late stuff. They're just fun.
Mm-hmm. For me, I don't listen to music that much anymore. I just listen to podcasts. Honestly, it's hard for me to now find music. But yesterday I was really in a Taylor Swift mood, and I listened to basically her whole 1989 album, and I was really into that. So, nice. Yeah, I know. I guess that's her right now. It was great. Got me in that.
Yeah, her stuff is fun.
Yeah, it is really fun, and I think, but Spotify really knows me as well. It just suggests, and I don't even know the artist. But if I just put them on Discover Weekly, it really puts on lots of cool stuff. But aside from Taylor Swift, though, I do love Jamiroquai. I always have loved that since it was one of my dad's favorite artists, and nice. And it's in one of my favorite movies, Center Stage, just about dancing, and so yeah, Jamiroquai.
I love Center Stage. That's a great movie.
Such a good movie. Awesome.
All right, I actually think this is a good one for us to end on.
Cool.
This person says, I would like to match your voices to your faces while I listen. Any suggestions?
I don't know. I'm the one that says like a lot. That's Meg. Hi, the redhead with bangs. I know. I'm sorry. I know I need to work on it. I'm trying to be more conscious of it. But that's me who says and like. So hello.
So I'm not sure if that was quite the answer. I know. Kate, I'm the blondest of us, though I'm not particularly blonde anymore, though I was when I was younger. And I'm the one who I guess says a lot. I don't know. I'm the one with the cats. So if you go to our webpage,
Right.
sewdaily.com, I believe there's some pictures of us there. If you look at our show notes, we often add images of ourselves wearing some of the stuff that we made. And and those are always labeled so you know which one of us it is. And of course, you can always run over to Sew Daily TV and check out some of our courses, and then you can see us doing our thing live and kicking.
Yeah, you can.
So I think those are probably the best ways. For me, the way I always see us is we have ads in Sew News and Creative Machine Embroidery magazine, and I always randomly turn a page and find me and Meg and Amanda all staring out at us. And that always makes me laugh. But so you can also find those on the magazine shelf and find us in there.
That shoot was fun. I remember as a joke, we're like, let's do this like tower thing. And it ended up being the ad.
Well, it's really cute.
So
picture.
cute. I know. I know. I love that picture. I think we need an updated shoot though. Next time I'm down too.
Definitely. Which is coming up soon, right?
I have sewed some new stuff that I would love featured maybe in the ads, and I think we just need a new pose or something. Maybe we'll.
Yeah. Or we just recreate that same
in just
pose,
different outfits. Oh my gosh, love that. Oh, all right. What? Yeah.
Okay. Next, I think we're going to move on to our SewJo segment. So, Meg, why don't you start us off? Oh, sorry. SewJo is the thing that's giving us our sewing mojo and makes us feel excited about sewing. Sorry, I always try to give an explanation for what it is, and I forgot today. So now, Meg.
Well, my SewJo is still working on film samples, so that's taking up a lot of my time. But I'm trying to, as per my resolution, I want to just make one project, and I'm making really good time. I have everything scheduled out, and I think I'll have some time to sew something, not for filming. And I want to make a pair of. I have this camouflage fabric. I was gonna make it in a Zaynard jumpsuit, but after feeling it, it was just too thick for a full-on jumpsuit. Mm-hmm. And so I'm gonna make a pair of like camo cargo pants, I think. So kind of that's if I finish. I was kind of my motivation to film all my film samples. Then I get to make those, and then maybe I'll bring them with me and. Maybe I'll wear them on camera. They might go. I always try and match what I'm wearing to the fabric that I'm sewing with for the samples. So I think it'll work for one. Yeah.
That's smart. I'm not usually that on top of things.
How about you, Kate? What's your SewJo?
Well, my SewJo is still my new shoes.
Right.
I'll put a picture on our show notes. I know if you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen them. They are freaking amazing. They are shiny pink and purple and some like iridescent white, and I love them so much, and I had so much fun making them. If you are in the Denver area or the Colorado area in general, I cannot recommend enough going to Colorado Shoe School. The teachers are great. They're really interesting. They're really nice. The class sizes are small, so you get a lot of personal attention. It was just the best day I've had in a long time, and you should really check it out if you have a chance. And also, cool extra thing, they have a old train car that they've converted into a tiny house, which in warmer weather, yes,
wow.
And it is so cute. It is super cute. And in warmer weather, they will rent it out if you're there for classes. So if you're not in the Colorado area, still consider it, because it really was just such a great experience. I'm going to make sure I write about it and gush about it to everybody I can possibly think of, because this really was one of the coolest experiences I've had in a long time. So that is, and I want to make more shoes. So yeah, that's my SewJo. All right. And now it's time for our Sew and Tell segment. Last episode, we asked you, what sewing challenge are you going to tackle in 2020? And since Amanda's not here, I'm going to kick us off by reading this comment from Kess Makes, who said, I have limited clothes storage at home, and it's full to bursting right now, so my aim is to only sew things for other people for the first 6 months of the year, and to continue my fabric buying ban until the end of May, at which point I'll have gone a whole year, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
I think those are great great challenges, great resolutions, for
Yeah,
sure.
really great. We have another comment from Highland Dance Mom, and they said, several years ago, I made a pair of jeans and they were amazing. Then I completely lost my nerve and haven't made a pair since. After just having bought yet another ready-to-wear pair of jeans that fit and feel all wrong, but they were as good as I was going to get. I've decided that this year I'm going to gather up my courage and get whatever's holding me back and conquer jeans once again. Victory and pants will be mine.
Yes.
Yes. I love
Do
that.
it.
Yeah. I know. I
Awesome.
bought a pair of ready-to-wear jeans a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, I should have just made, like, you know what, there was, so I'm tweaking them anyway, but at what point I should just make them again, you know?
Yeah.
I get it.
Totally. All right. And finally, from So Sweet Fashion, we have couture sewing finishes and focusing on slow sewing. I'm so used to trying to speed through the making process and don't take the time like I used to just enjoy the process. Sewing is my therapy, and making the time and space to truly enjoy it is not only good for my sewing skills and habits, but my mental health as well. And I think that that is such a good point. It's so important. I had a discussion with my husband a couple of weeks ago about how if I start to get frustrated, I need to stop, because that's when sewing stops being fun. And so I put it down and I walk away, which is not what he does. He usually keeps sewing and getting more frustrated. And that's the difference between how we function.
That's what I do for sure.
All right. We usually try to match our questions to what we were talking about in the episode, but since we were mostly talking about us in this episode, I wasn't quite sure where to go with that. So this episode, we're actually going to ask you, why do you like to listen to Sew and Tell?
Yeah.
Please give me some compliments. I'd like to hear some compliments. I've had a hard week.
Yeah.
Or you can, if you don't have a compliment that also answers the question, please feel free. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work, but give it a try.
Yeah. Why do you like to listen to us? And we hope you have a lovely, lovely week.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope that we interested you with our questions and answers, and we'll get some out of Amanda next time we have a chance.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. Bye, everyone.
Happy sewing. For links to everything we talked about in this episode, go to our show notes page at sewdaily.com/sewandtell. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at sewandtellpodcast@goldenpeakmedia.com or visit us on Instagram at sewandtellpod. Answer the Sew and Tell question, tell us your SewJo, or just leave us some feedback. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe on your podcasting platform of choice. And please leave us a review, ideally a good one, because that helps listeners like you find our podcast. And tell your sewing friends about us too. Thanks for listening, and happy stitching. Sew and Tell is produced by Meg Healy, Amanda Carestio, and me, Kate Zaynard. Our consulting producer is Ron Doyle, and our executive producer is Jared Mayer.